And hello, MKC. We are live with coverage of the 2026 MKWC for MKWorld. Got a Group 2 matchup coming your way. Australia versus Austria. I'm Spicy, joined with one of the best on the mic, Nathaniel. How are we doing today?
What's up, everybody? Hope we're all doing well. I'm good. I'm really looking forward to this match as it decides who wins the entire group. Both of these teams currently 2 and 0 in Group 2. Austria, Australia, Austria. You kind of a surprising performance from Austria being
Hmm.
one of the lowest seeds coming into this tournament, but doing really well, managing to stomp the Titans, or that is Belgium, putting in work against Eastern Europe as well. This is their final hurdle to try and get in the first seed for this group. However, we have seen Australia play on the big stage before. I was casting one of their matches yesterday, and they're a very, very strong team. So a lot to look forward to today.
Definitely, yeah. As you mentioned, Australia, an absolute juggernaut. Definitely, like, despite being where they are in the world, not always getting a chance to play against all these other teams, you knew they were going to be one of the favorites in this group. And Austria, on the other hand, like, it's so cool seeing what they've been able to do in their group performance. But here we are, getting a chance to look at this Australia lineup. Got Borger, Byron, Optic, Hendricks, Starcast, Mina. A lot of players here representing Excalibur, Dreamy Drivers, and really the Australia group very well tight knit, coordinated. You knew that they were gonna be coming in here with a lot of great performances, especially considering the history they have with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, grand standouts for this Australia lineup has been Borga,
Hmm.
Grandmaster in Lounge in Season 2, was peak rank 1, still on the push for Master this season. Optic, fastest player in the game, the only player on the players page, on the time trials perspective, to have a sub 59 timesheet, has 44 world records across 13 unique tracks. However, that's not to disrespect the rest of the team as well. The likes of Byron, Hendricks, Starcast, all very proficient in 8 Deluxe back before World
Hmm.
became the main game, and they're still putting in work to in World. High gold, platinum players, all of them have the potential to push for Sapphire. Really, really, really strong. And then Min, really, really strong on the 6v6 side of things with Excalibur. So this team has a lot of strong individual talent, and obviously they know each other really well. So the chemistry has been flowing. But looking at this Austria side, we have Izzy, we have Den, we have Duck Dave, we have Tariq, we have Zoka, and we have Lucas. I recognize a lot of these names from 8 Deluxe. So these guys have been playing with each other for a little bit, and it's gonna be, it's nice to see that they've been able to come out and cause so many upsets, be a dark horse in this tournament. However, they've got a lot of work put ahead for them today in what will be a scrappy match against Australia.
Oh yeah, I think Scrappy's a great way to put it here. You look at this Austria team, a lot of team experience, whether it be from like Tempest, First Generation, Brilliant, NFO, they're all representing a variety of teams here. The MMR doesn't exactly isn't exactly as close to Australia, but I do think Austria coming in, especially with the momentum, the little underdog mentality, and it's gone well for them here. And you want to end off as like the top seed of your group, gives you a bit more favorable matchup, ideally, when we get to the bracket stage next week. So this Austria team definitely hungry here. Quite a few players to be watching out for as well. So really excited to see how this matchup ends up going. It looks like we're already here on Toad's Factory.
Yeah, Lamp 3, we're kind of missing just an entire race, but I'm not gonna lie, it's a Toad's Factory race. You're just missing a scrappy performance in the front and seeing if anybody does pull Shock. Shock is pulled right at the end. I believe that is. Actually, we don't know who's on each team at the moment. I believe Yeah, Australia is the blue team. Austria is the red team. Australia with the top 2, 5, 6, 8, 12. You'd like to assume that is their Shark, Byron, and Optic holding it down in top 2. Holding onto those mid spots though for Austria is a good salvage. It gives you
Mhm.
something at least to work with, despite the fact that Australia is now up 14. So now just a case of seeing whether Austria is able to bounce back from a rough beginning.
Yeah, and we've seen it multiple times this MKWC where teams are bouncing back after some rough starts. So I wouldn't be surprised if Austria is able to do the same here. Race one minus 14 isn't ideal off the bat, but definitely a lot of time to make something up here. And you know that Austria, a team that is going to definitely have to benefit from their mid-pack play to really contest the just outright driving prowess that Australia does have. But here we are going into Salty Speedway for this race too.
Salty Salty Speedway is strong track for the runners. You can actually catch up pretty well as well, but however, it's going to be a case of who is able to aggress up with the shrooms at the start. Both of the first two sets are pollable within the first 20 seconds, which means they are affected by the
Mhm.
1.7 update, where everybody pulls the exact same items. Optic, this is one of her strongest tracks. She was part of the rediscovery of the whole top path situation in making this track faster for the lighter weight vehicles. But we do see Borga at the moment pushing up from last. Is currently in fifth. As Australia do just dominate a lot of the top spots at the moment. They do have one person in the back. Makes sense so that way they are able to go for shock if need be. However, they're not going to need it. They're probably just going to try and pull shock just to make sure that Austria can't get back into this.
Yeah, it's basically just mitigating what Austria is able to do. And the Australia strategy of just being able to have like consistency in the top spots is just so powerful at this point here. Now looking at what Izzy from Austria is able to do. You saw that the blue did come out and play from against this Australia side, but Australia is just so far away at this point. And even now we have the bullet bill, we have the golden, and quite a few of Austria is starting to try and make their way up. The pack is starting to get a little bit closer here. Very vital situation here to enter lap three.
Yeah, but it's going to be a case of whether they have the aggressive items to push up. This mega could be huge if Austria do have shock, could prevent a lot of the players from taking the final cut. However, from the looks of it, it doesn't seem like they do have it. I think Izzy is just opting to hold it for the final cut.
Mhm.
Unfortunate about the triple reds in pocket means that they're just going to end up being around all of their teammates instead, so not going to be able to utilize those to the best of their ability, as it's another strong race for Australia. A lot of them are in the top spots. We did see Borga in the mid spots, however, it's not going to matter too much as that is a top 4, 7, 10 for Australia, and they are breaking away with it at the moment.
Yeah, that's exactly the start you wanted to see for as an Australian supporter. Just knowing that they're able to get out in front and then really just able to support their tops there. You saw a lot of the great plays in the mid pack as well as scouting out in the back and like kind of just the control of pretty much everything else in the game because they know there's a lot of trust, a lot of faith in the Australia driving, so they're just able to mitigate anything really Austria was able to do, and even with like some of those potential items that Austria was able to pull, not really able to formulate an aggressive play near the end there. And even if it was, could have been maybe just a little bit too little too late. So Australia off to a good start. Looking to see what they're going to be able to do here. Differential likely going to matter, especially when we consider the seeding of each group in the going into the bracket stage. But here we are going to Desert Hills next.
I mean, it makes sense from us, Austria to go this. This is a track that can be ran if shrooms are pulled. Another one where the first two sets are pullable in the first 20 seconds. which means that you are able to roll 4 triple shrooms. Very strong on this track as there are a lot of cuts inbound. However, even if you do bag, you are not out of luck because the entire ending of the track can be taken in a golden and causes some crazy comebacks, as we probably will see from if either of our POVs end up in the back. Very scrappy opening for Borga as they are in the back. They do have 4 shrooms. However, they're probably they're going to greed them, see if they can pull again. Yes, more shrooms. Shit, weird variant of the ending cut there, but hey, if it works, it works. This guy is Grandmaster for a reason. I can't talk about his gameplay, but he is opting to stay back and pull for the stronger items. A golden star, whether he pushes up or just aggresses with his star, is to be seen. However, we did street Austria with bottom 2. Now that Shock is in play, they could, in theory, have it already. However, I believe that is Hendrix who dropped back for them to make sure that the Shock odds are even.
Yeah, you did see the drop back there as well from that Austrian side, just to mitigate potentially any craziness that could happen on lap 3, which is a typical thing now on Desert Hills. Last couple items, that's really important. Austrian looking to see who's going to be entering Dodge, if Shock is going to be in play, especially from the Austrian side. You see the Dark Dave in first temporarily, and there's the Red Shell coming out. Quite a few people taking cuts, whether it be through an item, whether it be through the NISC, and now it's a mishmash of spots up in here. Quite a few of Australia in top, that looks like, though. Once again, see a lot of the blue. Results are going to be coming in, and see another top 2, 4, 6, and 7. Is Australia just able to keep building this lead?
I mean, it was an interesting play from Dark Dave to not go for the endingness, probably anticipating the Shock, but I feel like it just shot him in the foot more because he did end up getting starred from one of the Australian players. Borger not getting hit by that, absolutely crazy work. But it was just unfortunate because it just allowed Australia to break into the top spots, which they have been so volatile with at the moment. This is definitely very different from their match versus Belgium. You saw that Belgium was very scrappy with Australia, kind of
Mhm.
forcing them to have a lot of their players in the mid pack, and Belgium being able to cause front runs when possible. However, Austria is struggling to do that at the moment. They're struggling to break into the tops early, and they're struggling to like cause scrappy affairs, which causes the likes of Borga and Optic to stay in the back because Borga and Optic are the biggest threats, not but everybody else can do their job. Like, what is it? We've seen Hendrix pull off crazy runs. We've seen Starcast pull off
Mhm.
crazy runs. So, Peach Stadium is a track. I'll, that's all I can say about it.
Okay, that's probably the best way to just leave it at that. You got the opening shroom cuts in the beginning, got a few lot of craziness things that will be happening at the end, and really just the jostling for position, especially now with how many people are going to be able to pull shrooms at this opening set. Just after the update, everyone's going for the cut here. Some are only going to be pulling a red shell, like we just saw Izzy do. So you do see the opening carnage, which is just typical of this course. And speaking of typical, we see Australia once again just having multiple players in tops immediately.
I mean, it's typical for this Australia lineup as they have been doing pretty much the entirety of this war. However, if we didn't see the top spots get broken in Desert Hills by a shock, we'll most likely see it here. Peach Stadium is a track that is very volatile. To the shock, to people catching up with the 1.7 update, it's very strong if all the front spots do just manage to play patient and hold onto shrooms to just target shock them before they can take the cut, because it's the only big cut on the track if you're not doing any of the crazy wall ride time trial stats. We do see Izzy catch up with Bill Mega. This will be really good, assuming Austria pull the shark regardless. hoping that Izzy just isn't forced into this as we see Borga in second, Optic in first. It's a top three for Australia at the moment as they're on the final turn approaching into lap three.
Yeah, great stuff again, and really just watching the back now, just seeing from Austria what's the counterplay going to be here. Is shock in option at this point? Are they going to be pulling some other aggressive items here just to make something happen? Really tear away at what Australia is able to do. Pack play is starting to get really close. You see a few bullet bills in the pack now, able to start moving on up. Some of them being from all the Australian side. The bills are getting real close now to this top two. You do see that Zaka is one of those players now, also really fighting up close, approaching this final turns, and just seeing what are we going to be pulling now in this last set.
It's time to see whether Austria did have the items to catch up. One coming up in a golden wide, having to respect the bomb from Borga, is able to true past, and Borga is just going to respect it, is securing a 1-3 for Australia. However, it does look to be a lot of red in the bomb at the moment. Actually, no.
Yeah, this is
Austria
first.
taking over the first. Respect for the Shrooms. Actually, a huge race for Austria. I thought that was looking like more like an Australia race, just from how the minimap was looking. But no, the Shroom boost from that Toadette from Zaka, able to grant so much momentum for them as they went for the rail strat and launching them into first place. Borger did all that they could with the bomb. I feel like if they try dropping it, they're just at risk of killing more of their teammates if they do so. So it's Peach Stadium's a track, man. It's a track.
Hey, you've mentioned volatility in that, and that was a great example. We felt very controlled by Australia, and then the ending happened, and that's just kind of how it goes sometimes. Austria doing a great job, not only able to secure a lot of mid spots, but also being able to steal first, get kind of put themselves back in a position to get some momentum. We've seen very big comebacks before in this war. So really interested to see what we're going into because I did see the Koopa Troopa Beach come, so this one's gonna end up real short now, and after the update, really different.
Yeah, for sure. Koopa Troopa Beach. Um, I don't know how it's been affected by the update. It's another one where, yes, you can pull the shrooms and pull away. However, the pulls like the megas, the bullet bills, the golden, specifically golden and bill, are really strong on this track. It's weird that they're trying to use this as a reset, but I respect the play. I respect the play. If you know that it's worked before, then surely you're able to do something now with it. As Izzy is pushing up with Shroom Rang, opting to use both the Shrooms to take the cut, trying to kill Borga and not kill their teammate. Looking to successfully get the Rang off as it's currently 1-3-4 for Austria.
Yeah, already on the third lap here, so interesting position that Austria has found themselves in. You alluded to it, but a lot of those like big items, the bills, the megas, the goldens, are going to be a big factor as we approach the final lap. Lap four, so a little bit more setup coming into play. Austria still maintaining tops. Australia having a lot of those back spots at the moment, and there's the shot coming in as well, and seeing a few of these players able to move on up. High dodge there from Borger, who's now able to take it on first as they approach the fifth lap.
You'd assume that's an Australia shot with how high Borga was dropping, and now the turns have tabled a lot of Australia in the top spots at the moment. It's not curtains for Austria. They could be able to do something and push up, but it looks to be a top four or top three minimum at least for Australia. A couple of the Austria players able to catch back up with Goldens. However, it is a top 3, 6, 10, 12. Good job on Austria for mitigating some of the damage that the shock did, but beautiful shock for Australia in the fact that they were able to not only dodge a lot of players, but carry over a lot of bills into lap 5, mitigating the Austria players from pulling bills and catching up. Some of them were able to pull goldens and salvage some mid spots. However, the bill just probably the strongest item to catch back up with in this game.
Definitely, yeah, and yeah, just amazing positioning from Australia at that point, able to put themselves in whether it be playing for the shock or also just having those dodges like in a great position to make use of such a great shock. So now as we look into this point, I'd say going into DK Spaceport, another one of those like shorter tracks, and it's seen a bit more play recently here as well. So very curious to see how this one ends up turning out for each of these teams. Australia building on this lead now as we end the first half.
I mean, Austria is kind of just backed into a corner at the moment. Australia just getting these big races back to back to back. Austria is just gonna come. Austria's just got to go in swinging now. Just try and do whatever they can to grant themselves any sort of reset, any sort of tempo shift to get them back into the match. We do see some of the players up here with triple shrooms at the moment. This second set isn't in the 20-second range, so if you do pull shrooms, you can't be as aggressive as you are on other tracks because this track has a lot of cuts. Pretty much every section opens up with a grass cut, as we do see Min and Izzy take advantage of. However, Min with the advantage of not having their shrooms forced to be used or stolen, as Izzy probably opting. They're in a weird position. They were running into the barrels. I was going to assume that they were going in the back, but no. With how split this pack is, they have to stay in the front.
Yeah, that was a big catch-22, honestly, for Izzy there. And the early shock as well coming in. Shock Blue also in play. As you see, Australia is still able to maintain a lot of these top spots here. As they're in the fifth section, you typically would see the shock very late. But hey, the shock coming in like around this midpoint does give Australia a few seconds more just to build up this lead, protect. And you see some of their players also shrooming on up. Triple Reds now in play from Izzy, who does have the option to play aggressive here as well, but having to go wide just to make sure they don't get hit by these barrels. Sees Daka able to keep moving on up, but a lot more of Australia have already crossed the line, and this looks to be another big race for the blue team.
Patience with the Reds is probably not the play that Izzy should have went for. If you spam the Reds at Hendrix there is a chance that one of them does, just because the Reds register that you get hit, that the player has gotten hit. The other one could just target onto the next player ahead, which was most likely an Australia player. So could have caused some sort of momentum or shift there. There has been a DC that race. Maybe a little bit of an explanation as to why the shock was early, but
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the first half of the war, Australia up 100 points on Austria. It's not impossible at this point, but Austria's going to have to do a lot of clawing back, a lot of fighting, and needs to start getting big races before this is pretty much game, set, and match for Australia.
Yeah, definitely at this point. We're going to Peach Beach for this next one here, the only Peach Beach selection. Austria definitely wanting to get anything on the board here, already being down 100. So wanting to see what this Austria side is able to do here. Peach Beach
They've thrown in
very
the
volatile,
towel.
especially at the end. Yeah, oh, yeah. Crazy.
What is it? The DC from uh the from the Austria end. I did see it like on the display. A lot of cows from the Austria POV, and yeah, they. I think Austria have, but I wouldn't say accepted their fate. They definitely had a lot of time to work with at the moment, but I think Austria at this point are like, hey, we've made it this far. We've gotten second in the group. You guys
Mhm.
can have first. We'll hold our hands up. Let's just have fun for this second half and enjoy.
Hey, with the cows coming into play, love to see it here too. I noticed the Moo Meadows were being selected all the time there as well, so would be love the thematic selection. Hey, maybe this also leads to some good results here. Sometimes when you're just playing for fun, just having a good time, it just leads to just better gameplay overall. Have quite a few tops actually from the Austrian side at the moment. I know Beach very volatile, especially when we approach that like third section, but never know, something big might be brewing now for Austria.
I mean, this is a track that also favors just the heavy characters as well. Unfortunate trail there for Borga not being able to take the glider. However, uh, heavy characters do favor this track because you are just driving predominantly in a straight line. There's
Hmm.
not too much driving tech for these baby characters to really work with, as Borga does opt to use his build now. He has Golden in Pocket, beautiful catch-up items, the exact items you want in this situation. Plays patient, Golden's all the way up. First is pretty much his, unless a last-minute shock comes through and changes things, but it looks to be a top two from Australia. Both Borga and Byron pretty much having the exact same pulls, being able to do the exact same thing. That kind of is just the strategy for when you are bagging on this track. Top four again for Australia, and they're just running away with it.
Yeah, running away with it for sure. I know Austria is down to 5 players at the moment. They did go all the cows, and I know the group's base is basically been decided at this point, but you got to give a lot of props to Australia just for how they've been playing this entire war at this point. Those look like we are now back to 12 as well, so gonna have at least that going for us here. And when you look ahead, this Australian team is like feels like a nightmare matchup for a lot of the lower seeds in the who are currently playing in like preliminary brackets. So you hate to be one of those teams who's watching this Australian side, just trying to see like what do we do counterplay wise, knowing that this is a really tough team to go against.
I mean, I I'll say this as someone who has a team in the World Cup at the moment. When I was looking at the group drawing stages for what is it, when the initial groups were being drawn,
Hmm.
knowing that Caledombria and Australia had the chance of being in a group with each other, I was doing every ritual possible to make sure that Australia was not in our group. I know how strong these guys are, individual talent, and how strong these guys have been. Even though it's the first year of Mario Kart World, this team has been strong in the likes of previous Mario Kart games as well. So I knew that if we had to go up against them, it would be a tough ask, because they have a lot of strong front running talent. They have a lot of strong mid pack talent as well. And this is a war that's highlighted it all perfectly, as they're just able to get these big races constantly swinging away at Austria, and they have done so against other teams in this tournament, as well as we are on Sky High Sunday. Uh, Cows everywhere in the Dairyland that is in Moo Meadows. But this is a strong runner. Australia have been trying to pick it for the vast majority of the war. If you are able to pull shrooms, you are able to break into the top spots early. However, Austria on the back foot, it's not a bad thing for them if they are able to pull shock or pull that bill bump is egregious,
That
by
was
the
rough.
way. That is very rough. If you are able to pull bill and shock, you are able to at least do something with the final turn, because Bill has like caused miracle races for a lot
Ooh.
of people.
Yeah, definitely one of those like big savior items here, and especially now Dairyland, as you mentioned. So I'm curious now from this Austrian side, have a little bit of an advantage, I guess, character-wise, thematically here. I know that Australia still maintained those top tier. This pack is really close though after second place, and especially Izzy with that mega able to squish so many players. You see Borger also up there in the bill. Quite a few of these Australian players also making their way up. And now seeing Izzy has opportunities maybe throw the bomb up if they really want to see if they can get the snipe now onto there. It's right in the middle, not going to land at least on the screen here as well, but everyone real tight now in this corridor on this turn. And seeing a lot more Australia once again just in these tops. Izzy at least in the ghost has the feather as well, gonna maintain at least the 5th place spot as Australia actually get a 6th place spot as Australia once again. A lot of tops.
I mean, the shock was in Australia's favor as well. We did see one of the Austria players dodge behind it, just allowed Byron to get a break. I think Starcast was up there with him as the shock was used as well. Also allowed, just allowed them to go out and get a break. This is what Australia even has been very strong with. If they are able to get into the front and if they are able to form a breakaway, there is no chance in catching them if they do have someone able to support their player in first and play aggressive with 3 and 4 if the enemy team chooses or is able to get those spots. It's what Australia's been good at for this entire World Cup, and going into the knockout stages, I feel like a lot of the bigger teams from the top 8 have to be wary and cautious about that gameplay.
Heavily agree. I think one of the big things that separates the teams who are really at the tops of these groups from the teams who unfortunately got eliminated in the play-ins or in the group stage has just been how good is your support play. Just being able to protect those who are in top spots. We think about all the carries and all that and it's the players to watch, but really the team aspect of this game is such a beautiful thing. And you see Australia demonstrated nicely here. Finally got to this Moo Meadows pick though. And you see Izzy staying in the back trying to just get some items here. Trying to see if the cows also just allows her maybe just a home field advantage here for the Austrian side.
Cows, the cows are out. The cows are rampant. This track, once again, another one affected by the 1.7 update in where if you are able to pull shrooms, you can actually call a really early breakaway because there are a lot of cuts starting with that tree bounce if you opt to skip the second set, and then there is also a lot of cuts in the grass patches towards the end as well. However, as I've said before with a lot of these tracks, shock is still really volatile. If you do hold a lead, it's gonna come down to whether or not the people behind you manage their shrooms well or not, because you can't have shrooms forever in first place unless you are really patient with them. However, patience isn't a virtue in this game. You do have to be aggressive at times
Mhm.
with your items, and Australia, Peru, my statement right there, Borga, opting not to be patient with the golden mushroom, just pushing up as it is currently a top 3 for them. Unfortunate not to pull the shroom to cause a little bit more of a breakaway, but this is just all Australia in the front. It's going to be eyes on Austria now to see whether any of them have shrooms to catch up in these final straights.
Yeah, Australia really forcing this Austrian team to make something as a counterplay just for all the aggressive options Australia has been doing for. You do see a few players now from this Austrian side move on up. Dark Dave now up here in this upper pack, and the Shroom now from Borger should be able to move up into first place, potentially secure another winning race already here as Australia, at least with a top 2. Pack got a little bit closer overall, a little bit more mixed, but it does seem to go more in favor of Australia at the moment as we do see the results come in. Up another top 2, 4, 6. Austria at least getting a couple of those like 3-5s and the 7-10s.
Yeah, that's something that Austria can be a little proud of, trying to salvage onto these mid spots. However, this with the differential currently this war has, if it wasn't over from the fact that Austria wanted to have a bit of fun picking the likes of Peach Beach, all these tracks, and switching to cow combos, it definitely is over now. Just with the point differential, it's going to be impossible for Austria to come back into it. Whether Australia decides to join in on the shenanigans that Austria have been doing, uh, we shall see. But yeah, just a strong performance from Australia today. Knew their game plan, went in with it, and was just able to overwhelm Austria really, really well.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if Australia decides to go less of the not something traditional, so maybe go for more of those like quote unquote fun combos here. At least knowing that they're on one of the games on stream, maybe it's like less data for the other teams to be scouting you out here. That's at least a nice thing for Austria. Less races for them to be really seen at. But here we are, going into Rainbow Road for not even on race 12 here. We're just having some more fun here on this race 10.
Well, we've gone from some of the shortest tracks in the games.
Longest
What
one.
is it? to the absolute longest one. The polarizing contrast from your Cooper Trooper Beaches and your DK Spaceports. Rainbow Road is 4 minutes of chaos. A lot can happen here. Multiple shocks can get pulled here. It's the only track where multiple shocks really is only seen here unless shocks get used really, really early on in any of the other tracks. But this track, lap one, you're going to be doing yourself a lot of favors in setting up for lap two. There are a bunch of grass cuts that you can take, which are pretty much the biggest cuts on the track, which you see a lot of players try and prepare themselves for, because section 2 onward is when you're really able to get any sort of breakaway, as we do see some of the Austria players in the front. Izzy able to be aggressive, pulling onto red shells, as it looks to be from the minimap 145 for Austria. Izzy just opting to stay wide and grief with the red shells. I like the idea. Just try and annoy the Australia players as much as possible, as we do see a lot of the players now hatching up. All the big cuts have been taken, and this is when we start to see shock strategy come into play, because either it has been pulled already or teams need to start going for it now to cause a swing in momentum.
Definitely at this point, yeah. Because you look at what Section 2 of Rainbow Road is known for there, especially with that water section, with some people able to take those cuts with various items. You're starting to see like that split in the pack there as well. Austria up in tops at the moment here. Izzy in the back trying to potentially pull some other items to either help out their tops or at least figure out a way to catch on up. Australia now moving on up here as well, because as we are now in this third section in the space station, just trying to see what we're going to be pulling out in this next set. Pack's real hard to tell at the moment here, just because of how this map is designed here. Bullet bill from Izzy though, so able to keep moving up at least a bit here. Borger now real close contested up in this top pack here, as a lot of chaos will start to ensue, especially right around this point now with triple reds also in pocket.
Yeah, definitely deadly items for Borger to pull. Unfortunately, a lot of his teammates around him at the moment, they have done a really good job in getting the cows
Hammers.
disposed. The hammer dodges both for Starcast and for Borger. Beautiful work, just ducking and weaving. Mike Tyson would be proud, as they are top 4 going into this glider straight. Unfortunate Kittle, but getting Dark Dave off the glider, I'd say that's a worthy trade, as this Australia now has top 3 and are hopefully going to have some form of breakaway, as the final section, all blue shell. They have a horn to deal with it though. This final section, not a lot that you can do, a lot of just boost panel straight line driving until after this glider, where there is the biggest cut on the track, the ending mist.
Yeah, and the ending disc is basically a must take at this point now too, just to maintain your lead. You don't take it, you lose a lot of time lately. You fail it, and you also end up losing. And you now have to take, especially knowing that a Kamix play did have to come out there as well. Shock over the cut here as well, but a lot of Australia is going to stay alive here. Minute and Borger up here in the tops. You see them at least in the top 3. A Bullet Bill is coming on up, trying to see who that is, but it still looks like another guaranteed win here. You see Izzy though up here as well with the Australian tops, but overall looks like another good race for this Australian team.
I mean, you'd assume it's an Australia shock just from where the shock was used. If it was used earlier to try and target shock the Australia players to prevent them from getting the pole bounce, then you would assume it was an Austria shock. However, the fact that all the Australia players pretty much had momentum slamming into the wall kind of just means that Australia were just playing safe, trying to see if they can target shock any of the Austria players behind them, and it did work out in a top 3. I didn't even realize that race was a 5v6 with how chaotic it was.
Mhm.
So Australia still holding onto their lead, doing very well in the 5v6 situations as well, because how DC points work in 5v6 is first place gets an extra 3 points, second place gets an extra 2 points, and then everybody else gets plus 1 points, just to compensate for the the point distribution in 11 player races. So Australia having all the extra points at the moment, as they have had top two in every 5v6 situation.
Yeah, and that top two has been a thing for them, not even just in the 5v6, but basically in the entirety of this war. It's felt like they've been getting first and a lot more every single race. Austria was able to steal away Peach Stadium and get first place there, get that small positive, but largely it's been Australia has just dominated the tops. They've supported from the back there as well. It's been an overall great team effort here. We go to another track with some notable cuts here in Bowser's Castle.
Yeah, this is another one that's very strong for your opening spots. We have seen Australia do try and just play a lot of these strong tracks for having top spots in Sky High Sunday. Another one we saw more reliant on the shrooms. However, Bowser's Castle more reliant on just raw lines and being able to manage the pack correctly. Yo, Borger with a camera tech. Yo, that's the little movie magic there. He's going crazy, but as we do see, Australia now they are breaking away top two on lock. Doing it in four, however, not having any items to take any of these final cuts, as we do see Australia top three. Shock can be volatile. A lot of really good target shock spots if Austria is able to pull it. However, just from how Australia have been playing, this is one of the tracks where if they get a breakaway, it's going to be ridiculously hard for them to catch up.
Oh yeah, especially just considering the combo difference here as well. It is already becoming insanely difficult for Austria to make something happen just from a driving aspect. So many players from this Australian side just dominating the tops, just like what they've been doing throughout the entirety of this war here. You're looking at the pack split already. Yeah, this top three, top four is essentially gone at the moment here, having to need something big. Crazy thing for from Borger, who's going to be dropping down here. Do you see Durney at least up here in these like top four, top five section now, and having to now see going into this lap three, are we going to be seeing anything? There's the shock now coming in from Austria, who is able to get a few players dodging on up, potentially see if they can close away this pack.
Dog Dave with the dodge there. Don't know what happened to him, whether they are in first or not. Is yet to be seen. Dodging in Star does make taking those cuts a little bit harder just because of the speed boost, but it does look for them to be up there. Borger in third still, his teammate in second. Australia, despite the shock, target shocking their mid spots, it's still looking like a 2-3-4 for them. They're just going to want to try and lock in on everything. After first, we don't know what happened to Dark Dave though, as much as that was a good target shock from Austria, it's top three lock.
Yeah, top three, maybe some more here as well. Yeah, top three, 5, 7, 9. Yeah, I'm so curious what happened to Dark Dave there. I positioned nicely with that Austria shot, but yeah, the extra speed that you get from the star does make taking, especially that big opening shortcut, just gives it a little more difficulty sometimes, having to just navigate around like the little bit extra speed. So fortunate there from Austria. War is end this next race here. Australia obviously dominance throughout this entirety of this matchup here. Austria still put up honestly a nice show, and you know that Austria does at least have the knockout stage to look forward to as well. So real happy to see what they're going to be able to do going into the next one.
I mean, this match is curtains at the moment, so we are actually going to switch over to another match that is going on at the moment. This is Japan versus Germany. Uh, this is the Kusan POV. They are going into the final race. Japan is down 36 at the moment with one race to go. Germany caught on the brink of causing another upset within these top groups, which we have seen a lot of this tournament. The top two seeds in
Mm-hmm.
France and Japan have been weak. They have been broken down before. We have seen the USA do it with Japan. We have seen Spain do it with France. There's actually two races left. My bad. But it'll be interesting to see whether Germany is able to hold on to this. With the fact that they are up 36, it means that they are going to be able to if they are able just to get a +6 race or more, it means they'll be able to hold down the win and confirm it for them. However, Japan just need any sort of race winning, even if it's a tie, to stay into this. However, the bigger winning race they can get, the better.
For sure, yeah. And the scary thing is 36 doesn't even feel like a huge lead at this point, considering all the craziness we've seen. You've alluded to like France, Spain, one of those big upsets that just happened. We know that Japan is one of the big favorites coming into this MKWC, but obviously have looked a little vulnerable, especially after that loss to the US yesterday. So a lot of crazy things potentially going to be ensuing here. It looks like we have Japan in the red, Germany in the blue. Bit of a fight up in those top spots, and you see that Kusana is going to be staying in the back here. He's going to be able to chain into this double, gets the bullet bill, gets the golden, and up in the tops as well. It's just really close, and it's looking like a mix. Currently, it looks like Germany in first, maybe now switching over to Japan. It's just a tight race overall so far.
Yeah. It's looking to be very tight in the top spots, as you were saying. Neither team able to get a breakaway. Shock does come out. Germany dodging. You would presume that to be a Germany shock, with the fact that they were able to prevent a lot of the Japan players who had shrooms from taking the cut. However, Kusan, very lucky with the triple shrooms pull, meaning he is able to hold on to first at the moment. However, has to be weary of the fact that he has Germany behind him, opting to go for the fast driving lines. Dodges the blue shell beautifully, maybe causes a little bit of mayhem for Germany in trying to dodge that on the wall strat. It looks to be first for Kusan. However, we do see a lot of blue in the mid pack. Bottom two at least for Japan. This as much as Kusan has
Oh,
just
bottom
resulted in
five.
first, it's resulted in nothing. And Germany 2 through 7, I think it's done it for them. That's definitely a gaining race for Germany. And yeah, another race where we've seen the top seed fall to one of the other seeds in the top 8. Germany go and take home this match.
And it's insanity. Japan has already dropped 2 matches this tournament, and like when you consider the history of the MKWC, Japan has basically been untouchable. And especially when you look at like Mario Kart 88 Deluxe, it's like only losing one singular tournament to France, and like it's crazy now. Just watching what's happened here, it's so much closer than it used to be. Every team in the top tier, that upper echelon, has looked good, has looked shaky. It's just been whoever's playing better on any given day has been the team that just comes out on top. And here we are, Germany, after having some like close results against the other teams in their group, gets a big statement win against Japan, and this is shaking up this group real nicely.
Yeah, definitely a lot of shakeup in the group at the moment. I do not have uh, an idea as to how this group was looking going into it. I'm going to see if we can find how this group was looking. But as you said, Japan dropping points, uh, very, very crazy. You would have expected Japan to go in and put in some big work in this group. However, that's not been the case. As we've been saying, this World Cup can be won by anybody. This is anybody's World Cup. The game is so fresh and so new that it means that any one of these top 8 nations, any one of the nations that are even in the group stage at the moment, have the chance of winning this if the cards
Definitely.
are played correctly. But looking at the group at the moment, this is Germany's final match, meaning that they are able to take a win off Japan. They will be on a 1-win, 2-loss record after this. Japan have this is their second match. This will be their second loss, meaning that if they lose to England, they finish bottom of this group with England only having played one match, one win for them, as the United States currently lead this group with a 2-0 record.
That's an interesting dynamic that we have here. I know US and England play, I believe it's later today, and winner of that likely ends up winning the group here. And it sets up an interesting situation where Japan has a realistic chance to finish bottom of their group here. I know Germany's finished at 1-2 here with losses to the US as well as England, and now Japan is just really in this really weird situation, like uncharted territory, essentially, where here they are in MKWC, not have yet to win a single match. Like, granted, they're still into the knockouts regardless, but when you consider a team like Japan with all the history, all the top player prowess, you would expect that maybe it'd be a 2-0 in their favor instead. And yeah, even here as we wrap up Crown City, you still see like quite a few of like these Japanese players just moving on up in the top split. A lot of this Germany team just really solid. It shows that yeah, Europe's still able to hang on, even taking away these upsets here, and it shows that we're in for an insane knockout stage when we get to that next week.
Yeah, the top three overall in divs for Germany's Speedy, Ollie, and Saga all in the top spots. However, Germany with a lot of strong talents, as we do see Jojo and Ray OS in the lineup as well. I feel like this Germany side complements each other very well because a lot of them
Hmm.
are able to go into the front and play, but they're also able to dominate the mid pack as well. I feel like all these players are very like jack of all trades players, meaning that they are a once a race starts, they are able, and once they figure out the position that they're in for the race, they're able just to play on that beautifully.
Definitely, yeah. Looking into this, like this is such a insane dynamic we've had here. Just this hour alone, we've seen Australia be a dominant presence there in their matchup against Austria. We just saw Germany take the win over Japan, and this is set up one heck of a or really is going to be wrapping up the one heck of a first half for this MKWC. This knockout stage is going to be absolutely electric. And one of the beautiful things is it's going to be so hard to like really pinpoint who's exactly going to be a favorite at this point now.
I feel like nobody's a favorite with how some of these matches
Exactly.
have been going through. Heck, maybe even one of the teams on the group stage ends up being a favorite. Who knows, man? This World Cup has been crazy with all sorts of fixture swings, all sort of expectations being upset, and that's been the beauty of this World Cup, which is why it's been such an entertaining watch, both for the players on the field being able to play the balls, and both for everybody at home able to sit back and watch these matches.
Yeah, amazing stuff here. And speaking of amazing matches, we got another marathon coming for you today. We got four matches coming on up in about 2 hours. We got, as we've alluded to, USA versus England. 2 hours after that, we got Canada, France, and then Middle East and North Africa against the Netherlands. And then we got Asia versus Chile at 10 p.m. Eastern time. So love here that we are getting so much coverage here in this MKWC, but that will wrap up the current coverage, at least for now. So, but be sure you stay tuned. We will be back in a couple hours for some more MKWC action.
Thanks for watching, everybody.